Welcome to The Climb. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. As a matter of fact, that's literally what The Climb means. It's an acronym that stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. We're so clever.
I'm so proud of ourselves.
Let me introduce you to this other voice here, my co-host, Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he also helps songwriters like you turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent, if you've been around for a while, you know him from manvsrow.com. That's manvsrow.com. And if you're new school, he's at songwritingpro.com. You can get him both places. He's so cool. He got two storefronts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, and I want to introduce y'all to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. So basically what that means is they help you find your sound and they help you find your audience. All right. So not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating cash flow. That's right. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. Why? Because there's only one, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny, how's it going?
I'm stealing that. That's good. That makes me feel good.
Yeah,
I'm doing well, man.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, brother. Man, I'm excited today because
you don't have to do as much work on this one.
That's right. I'm gonna sit at the feet of the master here, and our episode is 7 mistakes that kill your song's emotional power.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure, without even getting through the first 3 of these, that I've done them all.
Oh yeah, you can't see me, but I'm raising my hand, brother, because I'm pointing at myself. Because I'm
so guilty of all these.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nothing I haven't learned by error. So.
Oh, and before we get into these 7 things, let's just remind everybody: hey, if you're digging the content from these podcasts, if you like it, share it, please.
Yes.
That's how we get around. We got a bad reputation. Spread it around,
right.
and take 20 seconds of your life and leave a rating and review on iTunes. It helps us. It makes us look more legit. And the more people that are really talking positively about what we're doing, it just feels better for people who are just sort of sticking their toe in the water to see if we're worth, their 25 minutes, man. So if you dig it, let people know.
Yeah. And basically the more ratings and reviews we get, especially positive ones, the more people iTunes will show this podcast to. Because we're only going to be new and noteworthy for so long. We like to think we're still noteworthy, but we won't be new. And so the way people are going to find us are, word of mouth, but also the ratings and reviews are going to bump it up the ratings and the rankings, and hopefully more people see us so we can help more songwriters and singers.
And by the way, with the downloads, I should say we're over 8,000 downloads already.
Nice.
Which is pretty awesome. And we've consistently, since we launched the show in March, been in the top 10 and new and noteworthy. So
that's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening, because it ain't my mama, because she ain't listening to podcasts. Don't know what you guys
have that many podcast players.
Exactly. So thank you guys for listening, and we hope that we are a good use of your time. So we're doing our best to be.
That's right, man. So number 1,
that's right,
mistake that kills your song's emotional power.
Right. So
which is the opposite of what you want. You want emotional power.
Right. Exactly. So maybe you're having a hard time getting your songs to resonate with your listeners emotionally. All right. You can tell they're hearing you. They might even be giving you their full attention, but you can tell their hearts just aren't in it. Okay. Are your songs leaving your listener kind of unmoved and unchanged? Are they not crying at your sad songs and not getting all dreamy-eyed at your love songs, and they're not pumping their fist in the air during your rebel songs? Well, if they aren't doing that stuff, you're probably making at least one and probably more of these 7 mistakes. I've made them. Everyone's made them. We're here to get better, so we're here to help. It's a safe place.
You got to connect.
This is a safe place. Okay?
That's right. This is the safety tree of trust.
There you go. But there's good news, okay? If you identify these mistakes, you can fix them. So that's what we're going to work on. All right. Number 1, your song has too many characters. All right. So if your song has,
you mean like in the title?
Just
like 140 characters in a tweet?
Just like a tweet? No, it's too many people showing up in your song. All right. Too many people. So if
it's Gina, Sarah, Jill, and Jonah work the diner all day.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. So
working for their man.
Yeah, exactly. If your song has too many characters, your listener won't have enough time to get to know any of them or to care about them, right? You, your girl, your ex, your best friend, her BFF, her ex, her mom, they're all involved in this story, and now I'm lost and I just don't care because I can't keep up with it. All right. So that's one thing. Too many characters. Too many main characters, too many people popping in and out. I don't get to spend enough time with any of them to get attached to any of them and to care what happens. So that's one mistake that some people make. And, you know, some songs are kind of built to be like little character studies and stuff, but there's got to be at least one main character that weaves the whole way through. But in general, keep it simple. Don't have so many people I got to keep up with moving in and out of the stories. No subplots. Come on.
Yeah. That's right. You only got 3.5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So, another thing, second one, number 2, dose. Your song has too much story. Okay. So songs can tell amazing stories, but you have to keep them simple enough that the facts don't crowd out the emotion. Okay. So too much story will turn you from a songwriter into a reporter. And you get so busy relaying facts to the listener, like I got to get the listener from point A to point B. This happened, and that happened. Then 2 years later in a different town, this other thing happened, and that happened. Then 5 years later, this happened, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm drowning in journalism, and that's not moving me. You know, there's so many logistics. So you want to give enough space in your story for the emotion to come through. And I've run into this with songs, and that's, you know, maybe you're writing from a true story, something that really happened, but it's complicated. Or maybe, you know, when I've written with people like, okay, I got this idea that, you know, and they give me this whole long story. And I'm like, yeah, but there's just going to be so many logistics going in the second verse. Now we have to set up that it's 2 years later and it's in a different town and this has changed. And there's just so much like just logistical work before you even do anything emotional, just to set it up again. And that's one thing we talked about with Crickets. You know, if you go back to that episode, we told one story in a compressed time frame instead of doing all these different vignettes, because we didn't want to have to take all that time to set up all these different stories, because that's not emotional. And that's not going to make you laugh, cry, dance, or think, because you're so busy just getting all the dominoes set up. So keep it simple enough that you have space for the emotion.
You know, think about, just real quick, think about like some of your favorite songs, and everybody's got that little mental movie that they run in their head. Yep. Like they've got their own imagery that they see, that just sort of, and it always kind of comes back, doesn't it? You know? And if there's too much going on,
I get lost.
You can't really attach that imagery to something. It's like ADD. You know, let the video do that for you with the quick cuts.
There you go. Yeah, there's so much going on that it's easy for people to get lost. Like, wait, where am I now? Especially these days when people are multitasking and they're listening. It's the background music, and if you got a ton of stuff going on, if it depends upon them actually understanding what's going on, okay, you'd like them to understand what's going on. They got to give it so much bandwidth, so much attention. It's easy for them to get lost, and if they're lost, they're not moved. They're confused. Confusion is not the emotion you want. No, it's not.
What? Who's that? Wait, who's Bobby again? Like
he was in the first verse, and he didn't show up again till the bridge.
That's right.
Because all this other stuff.
But was he Judy's ex, or is he the one that screwed over Matilda? I can't remember.
He was Matilda's cousin. Wait.
Oh, that's right. With the dog, right? With the Great Dane?
No, well, but after the other dog died, he got the Great Dane in the song.
I forgot. That dog, that's right. That one got hit twice.
Yeah, it should not take longer to explain your song than it takes to sing it.
There you go.
All right. So, there you go. Keep the story simple. Don't pack too much stuff in.
Number 3.
Your song is too cliche. All right, I think that's a French word for boring, and I've heard it. Yeah. All right. So if your song is just a regurgitation of the same old stories told with the same old rhymes and cliched phrases stuck in the same old melody, why would the listener get excited or moved by that? Okay, it's like telling the same joke with the same punchline with the same delivery to a crowd that's already heard it 100 times. Don't expect a big laugh. All right, and it's just not going to happen. Same thing with your song. If it's full of stuff I've heard 1,000 times, melodically, lyrically, I'm not going to be moved. because everyone else has already stolen that thunder and taken the emotional punch out of those lines.
It was already sold once, and it did really well. You know what? This happened in the 80s with metal bands. It happened in the 90s with the
boy band,
the
grunge.
What do you call it? Yeah, the grunge bands, and it's happening now with rap, right? It gets the derivative thing that becomes cliche. Like all of a sudden, Motley Crue got really big, and Bon Jovi got really big, and then everybody was trying to be Bon Jovi and Motley Crue, and sort of regurgitating the same crap, and using the same, even the same furniture in the song, and the same, and it just all started sounding the same, didn't it? Yeah. And it got, all of a sudden, like 5 years later, it gets sterile. And I had somebody hit me up on Twitter the other day, and they're like, "Hey, check out our rap song." And I don't know, usually I don't do this, but I don't know what moved me to listen to it, but I listened to it, and it was, man, bitches and hoes and chains, and it was all the same crap. And I'm like, this is not how this guy lives. Like, where it's impossible to be cliche is if you be yourself.
There you go.
Because you're unique, So try to, and that's what I tweeted back. I'm like, I would like to know what this guy's life's really like, because I think this is like the movie of what he would like it to be like.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's him. You know what I mean? And if it is him, then I'm bored with that too. Because it's a cliche.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's really going on? Like, what makes Eminem so special, man? I mean, I know about Eminem's wife, his daughter, like his, all the crazy crap that happened in the trailer park. Like, we know all about that, And Dr. Dre was awesome because he was the first one that said, you know what I mean? So the first, tell your story, man.
Yeah.
Tell your story, and you won't be cliche. Okay. Number 4.
Your song is too inside. So it's great for a song to be very personal to you. But if you write it in a way that only you understand it, your audience will not be moved. Okay.
This one time at band camp.
Yeah. You might know what you're talking about. Okay. But if there's not enough there for your listener to engage with and to latch onto, they'll be frustrated, lost, or bored. Or, hey, I understand that some songs are so melodic, and that's what they're hanging their hat on, that it doesn't matter what the words are. They don't, that's fine. But if you can have both, you want to have both. You want to have the lyric where people understand it, where they can get engaged with that part of it as well. So let the listener in on your inside joke. And one thing, and I've blogged about this before, is are you writing for an audience of 1 or an audience of 100 million? Right? Because if you're writing just for yourself, for inside stuff, that's cool. I mean, that's a fine goal. But if you want to have commercial success, you want to write it where millions of people can understand it. Maybe not all of them can relate to it, whatever, but at least where they understand where you're coming from. They understand what you're communicating. They're not lost. Right. They're not, back to the inside joke thing. You're in the company of a couple people and they all have an inside joke and they're laughing about it and you don't get it. You kind of feel left out. Don't connect with it. You're like, oh.
Think about when you're in a group of friends and you've had that happen. Everybody's had that happen to them, right?
Or if you're in a group of friends and one person gives an inside joke that nobody else in the group understands, that they just look like an idiot. You're like, what? Do the head cock? Yeah. What?
And everybody's like, what? And then you're like, no, remember that time in the cornfield? It was so funny. You had to be there. Had to be there.
Oh, sorry. It's one thing I did with this other people.
Yeah. And we all thought it was really funny. But had to be there doesn't work in a song.
Exactly. Yeah. Put us there. If we had to be there, put us there.
Right.
Okay.
Make me experience it.
Exactly. So that's number 4. Don't make your songs too inside. Number 5, your song tells, but it doesn't show.
This is huge.
Yes. Huge. There you go.
We both went there.
Anyway, so you can tell it's a political year. So don't just tell the listener you're sad and expect them to be sad. All right. Even if you show them the tears in your eyes, don't expect them to cry any of their own. All right. Paint a picture of what made you so sad. And
hold on. Say that line again.
All right.
Even if you show, because that's brilliant. Say it one more time.
I should be a writer. Even if you show your listener the tears in your eyes, don't expect them to cry any of their own. Okay, so paint a picture of what made you cry or what made the character in the song so sad. And that'll give the listener context, right? And maybe it'll give them something to relate to. And then they might, be reaching for their own Kleenexes. That's what you hope for. So, and that's not just for sad songs; it's for happy songs, for whatever. But there's layers of it. One is telling the emotion. I'm sad. Okay, I understand that intellectually, but intellectually doesn't get me moved in my heart, right? Because I understand what sadness is. The next thing is, instead of saying I'm sad, you show a picture of that. I got tears running down my face. Okay, I can picture that. I don't know if they're happy tears, sad tears. I mean, I don't really get. Then you show the reason for it. My grandma's just breathing her last breath, as all the family's gathered around. I got tears in my eyes. And you're like, oh, I get context. Oh, yeah, man, I can relate to that. I lost my grandmother. I can, or even if I haven't, I see it and I can empathize. So if you're just telling me I'm sad, okay, whatever. I broke my coffee this morning. I'm sad about that too.
That's probably one of the biggest amateur songwriting mistakes.
Yeah. Some people.
I'm so sad and blue, and
right. Yeah. Because sometimes writers want to leave it open. They don't want to paint too specific of a picture because they want anyone to be able to relate to it. They want anyone to be able to put their own story into it. So they write these very vague, vanilla kind of things. That way, people can pour into that whatever they want to. The thing is, most people aren't going to do that work. Because they're not going to care to, because you haven't drawn them in to make them care enough to exert the effort. They're going to switch to something else. They're not going to do that work. For one thing, maybe they don't have that much work available, that much effort available because they're multitasking. They're driving, they're texting while they're driving, while eating a Big Mac and putting on makeup, right? They don't have time to do the work of putting themselves in your song.
Get the grit in there.
Yeah.
Get the grit in there. I mean, the grit. I always lean, listen, I love pop music, don't get me wrong, which is usually a little bit more vague, but I mean, I used to do a little bit and doing so the little got more and more. I just keep trying to get a little bit, I said a little bit of them before. That's like down and dirty.
Yeah.
Like that is, here's what's going on with me.
Well, that's some real stuff.
I'm a mess. Yeah,
right.
That's the real stuff, and when you can put that in there, and say that, recite to me the first two lines of Let's Fight.
Okay. I can tell the way you breathe, so I know you're not asleep right now.
Tell me you haven't been in that situation with your significant other. Those are the first two lines of a love song called Let's Fight. That's also a country song. If I told you I had a country song that's called Let's Fight, you'd think, well, this is barroom brawl, blah, blah,
right.
blah. But then I said, no, it's not. It's actually it's a love song, and you're like, a love song called Let's Fight. That's just that is exactly the opposite of cliche right there. But then those first two lines are just right. You get your attention like, crap, I've so been there.
Right.
Like you've got my attention right there. Because you painted the picture.
Yeah.
Like, how your significant other breathes when they're sleeping, and you know how they're breathing when they're not sleeping, so they're sitting there thinking, and they're brewing about what's going on now,
Not asleep, but they're not talking to me either.
Oh, yeah. So now your head's going, and and all of a sudden, you're in two lines, you're there.
Right.
You're in. And the genius.
Thank you.
That's what
and I think a great example of this is Live Like You Were Dying. Tim McGraw, huge hit. Tim Nichols and Craig Wiseman wrote it. And it's, it shows and it shows and it shows and it shows so many things and so many specific details in there. But the point of it is universal. And that song, Song of the Year, huge career single for Tim McGraw, who's had a bunch of hits. And that's, probably the biggest. And they weren't worried about, we want everyone to be able to relate to this big idea, so we're going to do it vague. No, they know.
Right, the bull's name was Fu Manchu.
And how long was he on that bull? 2.7 seconds, right?
2.7 seconds.
And so they went super specific. And obviously that did not detract from the emotional power of the song. Right. It added to it. Because even if you hadn't been there in your early 40s with the cancer scare and all this stuff that reacted the way that, this person did in the song, you can still be moved by a good story. And you see why that person says what they said. If it had just been like, boy, I tell you, I had a rough patch and times were tough, and I just went out there and I lived life, and lived every day and really went for it, you'd be like, oh, okay, whatever.
You know, this is funny. Like, you ever seen the movie Bull Durham?
Yeah.
Love that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's teaching the meat, right? The pitcher, yeah. Tim Robbins, the opposite of what we're trying to say right now. Like, you got to work on your cliches. He said, you know, like, I just got to take them one game at a time,
right.
To pitch the best I can. God will win more than we lose, because it's your job to be vague and not say something stupid. Be the opposite in your songwriting of Bull Durham.
That's funny. Yeah, this is not coach speak. This is not post game press, because you know what? Their job is to not make headlines. Okay, because it's probably going to be something bad. Our job is to make headlines with what we say. It is to grab people's attention to get them talking about it. And they're not going to talk about police. You hear that post-game interview that so-and-so gave? He said, taking it one game at a time. He just thanks his teammates.
You never hear that.
That was awesome. Never hear that. I want to hear that again. I bet they're going to put that on Sports Center.
That's right.
Yeah, we're not.
But you can crush somebody with the first two lines of a song. Like,
but if you do what the Seahawks guy did after the Super Bowl, he was like, "We knew we were better." I can't remember what he said, but he basically said that we came in here, we knew we were the better team, and we beat them. And
that pisses people off. That's
it made people mad, but they talked about it, and there you go. Anyway, this is a little bit of a sidebar.
All right. Number 6.
Number 6. All right. Your song's melody does not support its emotion. Okay, so this is a mistake that can kill your song's emotional power.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to name any names, but I can think of some songs that got radio play, and the singer lyrically is very upset with either missing this girl. There's one I'm thinking of. He's very upset with missing this girl. Another one, he was really upset because he lost this girl too. Melodically, if I didn't speak English, I'd have thought, oh, they're singing about a nice day. If I didn't understand what English was, because it just sounded nice and it was pretty, and they kind of, okay. But these songs did not move me at all, because I'm getting mixed messages emotionally. On one hand, the lyric is saying, I'm mad because I knew you liked that guy, and you said you didn't, now you're with him, or I missed you, and blah blah blah. Okay, but the way you're singing it is so nice and vanilla and sweet, and I'm like, I don't believe you meant that. It's kind of like if your song is supposed to be angry or resentful, but your melody, production, everything is smooth and poppy, I'm not buying it. And when I mean I'm not buying it, I mean that literally and figuratively. All right, I ain't buying your song. Right. But if your singer is singing about regret and heartache, but the melody feels like happy good times, I'm not really buying it either. And there are some exclusions to this. I mean, country, they say heartache with a beat. There are some happy sad songs, which are really cool. But if it's supposed to be like an emotional thing, those aren't really usually real emotional songs. It's more about the feel and production. If you wanted to move your listener emotionally, it's got to, your production, your melody, all that's got to fit your lyric, whether it's happy.
It's got to fit the lyric. Yeah.
Support it. Okay.
It's got to make sense together.
Exactly. Okay. So I want my wife to feel like I love her, right? So if I go, I love you. Oh, she's really going to feel that, right? The melody, the way I'm saying it, doesn't fit the emotion. Right. You marry me. Will you marry me? Or, it's not going to get the reaction you want. It's just getting mixed messages. Or so is yelling something like, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? In an angry tone. That doesn't really say that you're sorry and you forgive me. It sounds angry. All right. Or when a woman says, nothing's wrong. I'm fine, okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
You're screwed.
Okay? You're like, no, you're not. I mean, you're sending mixed messages.
It has to sort of fit together on every level like that. Mm-hmm. And very infrequently can you get away with it, but it has to be really clever if it goes the other way. Yeah. Right? Like some of the best, not to get back to the dirty, but heroin addiction songs, right? There she goes again, coursing through my veins, and I down. That's like one of the most popular pop songs because it's a pop song,
right?
And it's all about melody and happy. Like he snuck in that real dark thing that was written by a straight up junkie.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's all, like, listen to the words. It's he'll never admit to it, but it's a heroin song. And he's talking about, right when he drops the plunger, and there it is. Oh, but the way he's so universal about it, and he puts just a couple references in there, and it makes it sound, a little bit more, but the melody's so happy, but there, you can kind of,
you can take it metaphorically.
Yeah, I mean, it's by the way, it's been used in so many movies about a girl.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Because that's what
which is what he's feeling when when he's that euphoric, right, with the drug or whatever. But but like, because you had touched on that before, Brent, about there's certain times when you can get away with it, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, and the big thing is if you want listener to hit a certain emotional state in your lyric, you want to support it with your melody.
We think about that on the song demos all the time. Like, okay, here's what the lyric's saying.
What does that sound like?
Sometimes the writer's like, I want it to be like this, and it's like, well, but your lyrics are kind of over here,
right? Yeah.
Like, let's try to, will you allow me to do this and go this way with your lyric? And because with the production, because it's more of a beach song, and you're trying to make it more of this, like, happy, on top of the beat song, and this is like a behind the I got my toes in the sand song. Like, so the music should reflect.
Yeah, I had an incident like that back in my first publishing deal over Major Bob. I'd written a song called Holler. I wrote with Kenny Greenberg, and so I turned it and played it for my guys, for my pluggers, Mike and Jesse and them, and so it's just about this. The chorus they're like, it's a very anthemic chorus. It lifts and it sounds cool, but the lyric was almost like, they said almost like a documentary of like coal mining kind of thing. Like there was darkness in the lyric that didn't fit the verse or the feel of the chorus. Like it's pulling another way. It's not pulling the same direction as the verses were and as the melody of the chorus. So they're like, it's kind of at cross purposes. You're canceling out the emotional power of it. And we went back in and we fixed it. We made it a lot better. And it ended up being something that, that they liked, and we demoed, we pitched around and stuff. So that's another thing. So you want your melody and production, all that, to support the emotion that's in your lyric and the emotion you're trying to get across to the listener. So you don't cancel it out. Yep.
I like that. Number 7,
last one. All right. Your song idea is just not emotional enough. All right. So is your song too much head and not enough heart? All right. Is your topic too trivial and just not that big a deal? Or is it just an interesting but unemotional thought? Okay. So you can write a song about how the square root of 49 is 7. Okay. That's fine. That's cool. But don't expect anyone to laugh or cry when they hear it. All right. Unless they really, really hate math. So like me in the 7th grade. 7th grade me would cry at that song, but that's a pretty small market. All right. That's right. So
small market.
It's just not an emotional idea. And I've heard songs that way. Everyone probably has it. You're like, okay, well, that's cool. That's an interesting, maybe it's just an interesting wordplay that somebody blew up into a whole song, but it's just not that emotional. Or, some songs just aren't that much of an emotional idea. And so that's one thing I think about when I write is it along the list of many things that I'm checking off to see if I want to write a particular idea is it emotional? Is it going to make the listener feel something? If at the end of the day it's just a kind of an intellectual exercise or an interesting thought, man, no. Because it's maybe if I'm the artist I can put some stuff out like that because I got less people that can say no. But I can't get away with that as a writer, as a pure songwriter. I have to write stuff that the first time they hear it, the A&R person is going to be moved, or the producer is going to be moved, the artist is going to be moved, and they want to play stuff that the fans are going to be moved by.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. It's just on the front end, it's going, is there enough emotion inherent in this idea for me to even write it? If it's too much of a head idea, it's not going to involve the heart.
Yeah, you got to pull the heartstrings in there. You got to get that conflict in there.
Yeah, you got to stir something up, make them feel something, laugh, cry, dance, or think. All right.
Yeah. I mean, a great story at its base level, at the very base level, and this can be done, by the way, on Twitter with an image and a character. It's a 3-act play, right? Act 1 is the setup. Act 2 is the conflict. Act 3 is the resolution. So if you're not creating that conflict, that's where people begin to put themselves inside the story and be like, well, how would I act if I was in that situation, right? Like a woman scorned, like, the opening lines of "Let's fight." You know, like, oh, I've been there. Okay, now I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, or if that happened to me, what would I? Yeah.
Right. What would I do? I would do this, and then we fantasize. Sometimes we fantasize more realistically. Sometimes we fantasize outrageously.
Right.
But we fantasize, and we're in, and we're thinking about it, and that's what you want.
Yeah, you want them along for the ride.
Yeah. There you go. So that's not all we got, man. We got a couple. That brings us to the end of the 7 mistakes that'll kill the emotional power of your song. But I'm going to bring in some more emotional power right now.
Okay.
I gotta brag about my friend Brent Baxter and his wife Emily, because we want to talk about something right now. These 2 fine folks right here got 2 kids of their own. They're great kids.
They are good
and
kids.
They're great parents, and they work hard. And there's I never met a man with more character than Brent Baxter. And I haven't had that much time around his wife, but I know she's got to be something else to do.
She's way cooler than me.
I know that's the truth. So I really,
not a real high bar.
But I'll tell you what, you think we've got 2 beautiful children of our own that we created that were gifts from God, and isn't that great? And we're going to stop there, but they want more kids, but they want to help people, and this is a man of faith. This is a man of character, and they are adopting 2 Chinese children. Right?
Yes, that is right.
And so we got a deal going on here in August that, if you've ever considered doing some work with Brent, if you've ever considered getting some guidance from him and you've been kind of sitting on the fence about it, the month of August, every single dime that he gets from his one-on-one sessions, from what else have you got?
From the ebooks, from the courses that I have available, all that stuff. Basically anything in the store. We also actually have adoption T-shirts that we just put up. They have a nice little verse on them, a little saying about it. You can get that. So basically anything that, every dime I make from the store, from any sales and all that stuff, are going to go straight to adoption expenses, because bringing a couple boys over from China is not cheap.
The Chinese don't make it easy.
Well, you know what? It's not any more expensive than the U.S. actually.
Okay,
so
good point.
Yeah, so it's not like we're just. Anyway, but
are they? What's the deal with the kids? Are they orphans?
Yes, they are orphans. It was really cool. My wife actually got to go and meet both the boys, which it almost never happens.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
Not very long ago. And she got to meet them, and one of the boys in particular had already been on our hearts, and she went over there basically with the mission trip to work in these orphanages. And so the 2 boys, one is Ren, is what we're going to name him anyway, and he's turning 13, probably right about the time this is released. And so he's old for an orphan, and they age out at 14, and they're not adoptable. And so what happens to them after that? I guess they go work in a factory or something. And so he's 13. The other boy is Quill, and he's 6 and be 7 in December. And both of them have been in the orphanage their whole life. They're best friends. They're good buddies, and so we want to make them brothers. And Quill's just a really cool little boy. He has cerebral palsy, so he doesn't have the use of his right arm. But Emily got to hang with him and just watch him do stuff with just the one arm and not get frustrated. Sure. And we talk a lot about not making excuses and not letting stuff get you down. Yeah, and I'm like,
don't give up.
Don't give up. And I'm looking forward to getting to meet him, because I haven't got to meet him yet. And just that's going to be inspiring to me. I think I'm going to be real inspired by this boy, and just apparently the attitude he has. Apparently he's hilarious. Now Emily doesn't understand a word of Mandarin, so she had to take it people's word for it, and just the fact that they were laughing that this kid's really
hopefully
funny.
The melody on his voice is consonant with the lyric.
They say, you're right. They think it's hilarious.
Otherwise he's playing with it, right?
Exactly. So yeah, those are our soon-to-be sons, and so we're just trying to we're kind of in the paperwork phase, and most of that's ended, so we're just in the fundraising phase. So so anything, we're calling it Adoption August. So for the whole month of August, anything you bless us with, as far as buying, because you're my peeps, right? I don't want to just go, hey, give me money. I want to provide value, because that's how I want to operate. So that's why I'm not just asking you to send me money. So it's ebooks. It's stuff that's worth the money anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't make it available. But right. If you've been on the fence about that, you've been thinking about it, you just go to if you go to songwritingpro.com and then go down to the store tab, it takes you into the store, and you can peruse and hopefully find something that's going to help you out. And, if you're thinking about it, just know it's going to a good cause to bring a couple of our boys home. But Johnny, thank you for the really nice intro on that. You make me sound better.
Yeah,
but I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's exactly who you are. And listen, with or without the kids, it's a good purchase, So now in the month of August, you can really help make a little bit bigger dent in the universe. And why not?
Yeah.
Why not do it? So, all right, brother. Well, that brings us to the end of another wonderful podcast of The Climb, and we want you to keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.